Hello and welcome to the GRANGE Podcast. This is where we get to dissect interesting sports stories, especially in the world of football. Here in Africa, outside Africa, all the conversations, some might not be palatable for you to listen to, but you get to hear different angles here on the GRANGE Podcast. I welcome you to this. This week on the GRANGE Podcast, we've got conversations about the Super Eagles. Can they still make it to the World Cup? It looks like it's impossible at the moment. We also look at the MPFL, that is the league here in the country, the top tier league here in Nigeria. And of course, some highlights for the weekend across different parts of Europe you get to hear here on the GRANGE Podcast. You could call me Richie or Richie Rich, whichever you choose to call me here on the GRANGE Podcast. I'll be your host, and at this moment, I'll be going for a short break. A big shout out to Shade Social for holding us down with this fine facility for the shoot of this podcast. I'll be right back after this short break. Don't you go nowhere. Well, this week on the GRANGE Podcast, I don't know how to start without showing you how I feel about the result of the Super Eagles. Remember, in the last episode, we talked about the positive things that could happen for the Super Eagles and also how difficult it was going to be for the Super Eagles playing at the World Cup qualifiers. But fast forward to today, it's clear, it's obvious that it's going to be a near impossible task for them. Mathematically, it is possible that they can qualify for the World Cup, but that draw against South Africa says a lot about the Super Eagles. Do they really deserve to play at the World Cup? That game ended 1-1. We saw one of the goals scored. In fact, both goals were scored by Nigerians. We got to Trustekong, who dashed them a goal. It was an own goal. Poor positioning for him. Wasn't really aware of where he was standing and how the ball will ricochet off his feet. And, well, unfortunately, he put that in the back of the net for South Africa, and they are coasting clear, 17 points. In fact, the country who are breathing down their neck will be Benin Republic, and it is former Super Eagles manager Gernot Rohr who is leading that side. So you can see how painful this is for Nigeria. When the qualifiers started, we had different chances to win against Zambia, against Lesotho. Even here in Nigeria, they could not do that. So now, for the next two games, Nigeria will be playing. This would have been their rest period of saying, okay, let's try new players because we're already qualified. But at this point, they will be praying and hoping that South Africa will get to fail in their next two games. And they didn't fail in the other fixtures. Why do Nigerians think that will change this time around? So that is the conundrum for Nigeria qualifying for the next World Cup. And it's so sad that Nigeria will be at this point. This is the first World Cup where we have 9 representations from Africa. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we do not have Nigeria there. Do you know how painful that is? For someone who has watched World Cup for many years, seen 4 representations, 5 representations, now we have 9. And Nigeria will not be part of this. I don't know what miracle. I wish to be proven wrong, or I wish someone could pull up this video when it's published and say, oh, Richie, you were wrong. Nigeria made it. I don't know how they're going to make it. Now, there's also another gray area. FIFA look like they might still make a decision about it, but on the day the Super Eagles played South Africa, they put out a tweet saying if South Africa were to defeat Nigeria and Benin Republic were to lose to Lesotho, then South Africa would have qualified. They have copies of the petition from Nigeria, and I think Benin Republic also put up a petition saying South Africa should be deducted 3 points because they use an ineligible player against one of their in one of their games against Lesotho. Mokoena should not have played that game because of accumulation of yellow cards. Now, Lesotho did not report for reasons best known to them. Maybe it's amnesia. They forgot that that happened, or it's deliberate. We don't know. But Nigeria and Benin Republic, I believe, have lodged a complaint. FIFA acted like they didn't see that. They put out a tweet on Tuesday when that game came through saying, oh, South Africa could be one of those teams that could qualify if they defeat the Super Eagles and Benin were to do their own job of losing to Lesotho. That would have pushed them through. But Lesotho were thrashed thoroughly by Benin Republic, and Nigeria, who you'd have thought would have won their game and probably waited for South Africa to get that match deduction, because if that had happened, then South Africa would have come down to 13 points, because they were on 16 points before they played Super Eagles, and now they're on 17 points with just one extra point. So you see how difficult it is. Nigeria would need to win at least 2 games and hope that South Africa would lose their next 2 games, and also hope that they can outscore South Africa. It's difficult. It's difficult to put into words how this is the situation for Nigeria. But, well, a situation of things make you question, even if all these permutations were to work in favor of Nigeria, do they deserve to play at the World Cup? I would want to see them at the next World Cup, being hosted by United States, Canada, and Mexico. But do they deserve it with the sort of players they have? Look at this bunch of players, individually brilliant, all of them. But they are in the position where this thing has really cost them a lot. Victor Osimhen was injured before the South Africa game, and it did look like he was the messiah for Nigeria, because, come on, we know how important his goals have been for Nigeria in this qualifiers. And for the games he's not played, we know also how this team hasn't really played their very best of football. So it's a sad mix, because you look at these players who are in their mid-20s, heading to 30. If they do not play now, you have to wait for another 4 years after 2026. You have to wait for 2030 for them to play at the World Cup. And most of them would have been in their early 30s or mid-30s to play at that next World Cup. So it gives you a lot of worry about the leadership of the NFF. Because as much as you want to give the players stick, you want to give Eric Chell, who had just a few games for this World Cup qualifiers, you want to ask questions of the NFF. Should they not be dropping resignation letters at the moment, because they have failed? And this is the second World Cup that Nigeria could be missing out on, or will be missing out on, whichever way. It just looks like this is something that is already cast on iron. I don't know how they're going to do that. Someone said we might have to just bribe the other countries so that they could, do their very best against South Africa and Benin Republic, but that is highly unlikely. We know that is not going to happen. So it's really unfortunate that Nigeria are in this position, but that's how the cookie has crumbled for them. These lads will have to look at the next Africa Cup of Nations to see if they can win something in their prime. They have the players, but do they have the management system, right from the NFF to Eric Chell? Can he win something at AFCON? I think that will be the next thing that Nigerians would have to look at. But then again, it's the way things have happened in this country, and it has broken some hearts. So at this point, I think it's fair enough to move to something exciting, and that is the MPFL. We're at match day 3 of the MPFL, and we're seeing some exciting games that will be coming through. Some of the new boys have done some amazing jobs so far as the league has started. We've seen the likes of Kun Khalifat hold Rangers to a draw at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium, also known as the Cathedral. We've seen Warri Wolves also defeat Rangers International in Ozoro. We've seen Barao FC put up some fights too. It's been some interesting times for these new lads who have come to the league. At the moment, it's Remo Stars who are defending champions, leading the table in the MPFL. And after 3 games played, it's game 4 we're looking at the moment. After 3 games played, they have 7 points. Not very impressive, but at least they are top of the table. Warri Wolves, they are 4th on the table. They used to be a very, very ferocious side to face in the MPFL. They are back. They went to relegation. They're back now. They're in 4th position. This might just be early days for them in the league, but we'll see how things will work out for them. But the likes of Kun Khalifat at the Owerri Bay side, they have not had the rhythm working for them. They're currently 19th on the table with just 1 point. Not very impressive for them. Barao FC have just 2 points after playing 3 games. It's not really the best of times for them in the MPFL. So can they do better? Will they do better? That will be something we'll get to see for the coming games this weekend. would also be seeing some blockbuster fixtures. Rangers International, they go away to Kano Pillars. That is a monster fixture by all accounts. You look at the pedigree of both sides in the MPFL, it's something to look forward to. Rangers International going away to Kano Pillars. Then we'll also have a top game between Rivers United and Shooting Stars. These two sides have great pedigree in the league. It's something to look forward to. And of course, the likes of Abia Warriors hosting Katsina United, that gives us something to talk about. To you tell me what your predictions will be, in case you see this video before the games this weekend. Tell me what your predictions are in the comment section. I'd really love to know what your thoughts are, because arguably this is one of the best leagues in the whole of Africa. It has not produced a lot of Champions League or Confederations Cups, but we've got quality players who are moving from this league to bigger sides. We have even one who's playing in the Super Eagles, who's been a bright star in the Super Eagles team, Benjamin Fredericks. He had played for Nasarawa United back in the day before moving abroad. Now he's playing for the Super Eagles. So we have quality, great players who have come from this MPFL. So it's worthy of conversation here on the Grange podcast. I'll go for a short break, a small commercial. When I'm back, we'll get to look at the European scene, managers swapping places, and what you might be expecting for this weekend of football in England and some other parts of Europe. Stay with me here. Well, now let's talk about Europe on the Grange podcast. And this week, we have exciting times for some of the players who have been exposed to international football representing their countries. Some of them have been absolutely brilliant. And for the club that will be playing first in England on Saturday, their team, Arsenal, they've had some exciting players over this international window. The likes of Mourinho has scored a hat-trick for Spain in this transfer window. You've seen Odegaard score one for Norway. We've seen Madueke also score his first goal for England. Says a lot about Arsenal. Can they retrick their squad? Can they do well this season? That's a big question. Now, talk about Nottingham Forest, who they will be facing in a lunch time fixture in the Premier League. You would be expecting Ange Postecoglou to wade or use his magic wand on Nottingham Forest. Nuno Espirito Santo has done amazing with Nottingham Forest, but after their last loss, where they conceded 3, the relationship, that was the last straw that broke the camel's back, literally, for him and Nottingham Forest. He has had weeks of issues with Edu Gaspar, who is the global sports director there at Nottingham Forest, and also for Evangelos Marinakis, the CEO of the club, co-owner of the club, who has made his displeasure about a lot of things clear. Nuno Espirito Santo says, you guys are not backing me up. In the transfer window, some of their big players left. They didn't really get to fortify as he wanted, because you look at his progression in the Premier League, what he had done with Wolverhampton Wanderers before he left. A little stint with Tottenham, now also working with Nottingham Forest. You can tell that this man is a quality manager. Look at, for Nottingham Forest, not playing European football for such a long period, qualifying them to playing European football, and even had a bonus, because Crystal Palace, who was supposed to play in the Europa League, did not make it because of ownership issues between them and another French club. And now they had been promoted to play Europa League, which would have been a fantastic time for Nuno Espirito Santo. But he was fired just a few days before this broadcast or this shoot. And Ange Postecoglou has been given that job. The Australian usually wins in his second season, and he says that at every club. So for all Nottingham Forest fans, they've got to calm down this season so he can understand how the team works. And hopefully next season, he gets to deliver on his mandate of winning every second season wherever he gets to work with. He's worked in Japan, he's worked in Scotland, he's worked in Australia, even headed the national team. So he's got a huge pedigree in football to handle this squad, Nottingham Forest. But it's left to be seen what would happen in their first game under his management. will be against Arsenal. Can they survive Arsenal right in front of Arsenal fans at the Emirates? That's going to be something really interesting to look forward to. We've got a London derby between West Ham and Tottenham. That is also a fantastic game. West Ham's manager, it looks like he just could be leaving soon because his stay is not really, he is on some thin ice at the moment, so he could be leaving anytime soon. And Brentford Chelsea also gives us something to really salivate for, because Brentford, they've been picked apart by different movements, but player and their manager Thomas Frank moved to Tottenham. We've got some of the players who have moved. Johan Wissa had moved to Newcastle United, I beg your pardon, during this transfer window. We've seen Brian Mbeumo also leave the squad. We've seen some movement away from this Brentford side. How can they cope against a Chelsea side who have brilliant players, young players who want to deliver and score goals, jostling for positions at the club? But the main toast of the weekend will be between Manchester United and Manchester City. Manchester City hosting Manchester United. It used to be a very huge fixture back in the day, but with Manchester United on a downward spiral for a few seasons, it's not really lived up to that. But Manchester United had some fortifications in this transfer window that really could help them. They've got a few injuries here and there with some of their new acquisitions, but they do have a squad that should be able to challenge Manchester City. But look at Manchester City. They have a player who scored 5 goals in this international window in Erling Haaland. Scored 5 goals, created 2 assists. Can he come good for Manchester City against Manchester United? Manchester United already have a change in their goalkeeping department. Bayendia and Lamens to struggle for number 1 position at the club Manchester United. So will we be seeing some more feistiness in the game between Manchester City and Manchester United? Manchester City have not also started the league in their very best form. They've lost a game and drawn. It's not really been nice for Manchester City so far this season. So can they deliver something different? That's a big ask for them. And outside England, you've got Barcelona saying, oh, they wish they could have hosted their game at the Camp Nou, but they can't because of some logistics with approval. So they will be playing at the Johan Cruyff Arena against Valencia. So they'll still have their fans come through there to support them. But the Camp Nou has been redeveloped and it's a bigger place, more exciting games we should be expecting at the Camp Nou. Hopefully we'll get to see them play there sooner or later. Likes of Real Madrid have interesting fixtures for this weekend too. Let me just get to that Real Madrid fixture. They will get to take on Real Sociedad, and that will be away from home, but on Saturday, not on Sunday. It's Sunday that Barcelona will get to play. And in Germany, we have big fixtures. Bayern Munich taking on Hamburg ISV. Might have been a big fixture many years ago, but now it does look like it's a game that Bayern Munich will just steamroll, get past, and get to deliver maximum 3 points. For them in the transfer window, they might not have gotten the sort of players they desired, but some of the players they have gotten have started to show some level of class, especially in Luis Diaz, who scored some goals for them at Bayern Munich. So maybe we get to see them go again for the title this season and get to win as much as they can this season. For Vincent Kompany, he is a younger manager. He's not German, but he's got the hunger to win, just like other managers have done at Bayern Munich. So we'll wait to see. Maybe he gets to do things differently for his side at Bayern Munich. Well, there's just so much to talk about, but really little time here on the Grange Podcast. There are a lot of games that are lined up for the weekend, and it will be nice to know what your thoughts and predictions are concerning the games lined up for this weekend in the different leagues, whether it's the French Ligue 1, whether it's Spanish La Liga, the Serie A, the Premier League, whichever league you get to follow. Let me know what your thoughts are, your expectations for the results this weekend. It would be nice to know that. So drop your comments on this podcast. Let me know what your thoughts, and do not forget, to subscribe to this. Do not forget to like. Do not forget to share. That is something that's going to help us grow here on the Grange Podcast. It's been a pleasure having to talk to you here on the show. Let's get to do it again. Next time we'll be talking about football. It probably will be about the Champions League because it's very, very close. We'll be having exciting games lined up and probably even drag one or two cats to join me to analyze the games that you will be watching on your screen. So for now, I'll say goodbye. Get to enjoy this, and please do the needful. Subscribe, like, and share. That easy here on the Grange Podcast. Big shout out to a famous producer, director on this, and of course, another shout out to Shade Social for blessing us with this fine facility to work with. So yes, let's do this next time. You can call me Richie. It would be nice to see you next time.